Well, as we have been hearing since the program began this morning, Vancouver police say 11 people were killed, more than 2 dozen injured after a man drove an SUV into a crowd of people at a Filipino community block party at Fraser and 43rd over the weekend. This happened just after 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Now, Kaiji Adam Lowe has been charged with 8 counts of second-degree murder in relation to the mass fatality event at the Lapu-Lapu Day Festival. And Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim is calling for a full review of the city's safety measures. He says he would be advocating all levels of government for change. Well, Mayor Sim has been good enough to join us in studio this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
The city obviously still reeling from the events of the weekend. What would you like all citizens, but specifically the Filipino community, to know?
You know, we love you. You know, your family, your friends, your neighbors. It hurts us to see the community go through this. We share your sadness, your sorrow, your hurt, and your anger, and we're here for you. And not just myself as mayor, but the outpouring of support throughout the city, the region, the province, the country, and in fact internationally.
Mm-hmm.
It's been this one incredibly unifying, you know, this place feels unified in our support and our solidarity towards the Filipino community in this incredibly horrific time.
I can't think of a darker day in the city's history.
Either can I. And, you know, I've been here for 5.5 decades, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking.
Yesterday, you and the Vancouver Police Department said that the root cause of this incident was mental health. Police haven't released anything as far as a motive goes in this tragedy. What makes you certain that mental health challenges are at the root of this?
You know, I can't necessarily comment on that just because now we have, there's an active investigation going on. But what I can tell you is, through the media and what have you, it's, people know of this individual's history, and there have been a lot of interactions, not just with law enforcement, but with, healthcare agencies. And, we're in a situation, and it's not new, we've been bringing this up for a while, where there are, maybe I'll put it this way. There are a lot of individuals that have mental health challenges that they're dealing with, and the vast majority of people, they get through it and they function really well. And there are a small subset where people are not in the position where they should be directing their own care. They pose a significant risk to their own health and safety, and they pose an incredible risk to the safety of others. And, unfortunately, situations like this, the incredibly horrific situation on Saturday, could be, the root cause could be this as well. And it's incredibly frustrating is not even the right word. This is where, sorry, Steve, I'm just speaking with my heart here. And look, I think right now we need to support the community. The community is absolutely reeling, and that's our primary.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of anger right now in terms of we've been asking for support on these issues, and senior levels of government have not been stepping up in a quick manner. And, you could see this one coming from a mile away.
Sure, but people might, with respect, also be looking at you and your promise to provide not just 100 new police officers, but 100 mental health nurses, which was a very specific election promise that you had made. Now, of course, that takes support from other levels of government, but that was your promise to people.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
which has not been, which has only partially been fulfilled.
Yeah. So, Stephen, I'll just, in the spirit of I'm not getting defenses. I'll just.
No, I know, but people do have questions.
Yeah,
is what
sure.
I'm saying.
And so this is a situation where we highlighted something. I think to remind everyone, healthcare is not civic responsibility. We were
People
going.
told you that
I know,
when you made the promise.
I know we were going, and we went out of our way, and we've actually put a lot of resources into it. And what I can tell you is we've doubled car 87, 88, and we've intercepted a lot of. Or proactively dealt with a lot of situations where people were facing a mental health crisis, and they've been triaged into mental health responses. We've created an Indigenous crisis response team. We have individuals in our call center where they've routed thousands of calls to a healthcare response, and so there's been a positive, a very positive outcome with that. And I want to be very clear because not coming from the mayor of Vancouver, but coming from a concerned resident. If we want to address this issue in a substantive manner, we need senior levels of government to step up because, first of all, we don't have the resources. Second of all, if we did have the resources, it is not in our jurisdiction. We are not healthcare. What we did when we committed to 100, supporting and we still support the financial resources towards what we committed to during the last election. They're there. But that's not going to solve anything. We were trying to prove out a case where when you dedicate resources to healthcare and you get in front of it, you have way better outcomes. And a lot of these issues are not, the vast majority of the issues that we deal with are not policing issues, but they manifest into policing issues because when you have someone who cannot direct their own care, for example, on September 4th, there was an individual who killed someone and chopped off the hand of another person. That person had 60 interactions with the police before it manifested into a criminal act. That was a healthcare issue. Up until the time that person killed that individual.
And this case seems that I'm not drawing parallels between it, but this is another person who the police have said there were a significant number of mental health interactions with this person, and yet this person does not show up in any criminal registry. It doesn't appear as though they've ever been charged with anything.
Yeah, sure. In that case, fine. But, in this case here, I just want to be careful because we're,
I understand. There's an investigation underway.
There's an investigation. But let's speak in hypotheticals for a sec. Even if that person does not have any interactions with the police whatsoever, but they have numerous interactions with healthcare responses, and they keep getting kicked out of the system. They keep not getting the resources they need. These are ticking time bombs.
Right.
And I don't care what side of the political spectrum you live on, as human beings, as citizens, as people that have family and friends who, just want to celebrate and feel safe in our communities. And we're compassionate individuals as well. I think the vast majority, if not all of us, know someone and care about someone who has a significant mental health challenge. These are people that, we care about, and we're actually asking for these resources, and then they don't happen, and then situations like this unfold that are absolutely horrific and terrible for everyone. We need to have that conversation.
Why do you think we treat mental health so differently than we treat physical health?
Look, I'm not a healthcare expert in terms of, when it comes to that. I
can hear your frustration with exactly that point.
Yeah, well, I think, the follow-up to that would be, but I remember, there used to be a massive stigma around this. And I remember the Courtnall brothers, for example, decades ago, with their, I believe it was their father. This is stuff that they hid because there's an immense amount of shame. But they daylighted it. And so we've come a long way, but I think those stigmas still exist. And, there's still a lot of people who don't want to talk about it or don't understand it. And we have to do better.
You spoke yesterday, and we're about to enter festival season here. We were just talking a little while ago about the Pinoy Festival. That's actually taking place in Burnaby, but it happens just 7 weeks from now. You have tried to assure people that people are safe when they attend these events, whether they're city-sponsored or sponsored by individual organizations. There's a safety review underway. Will anything change about the way those reviews are conducted?
The actual reviews, no. Well, in terms of the review, I think there's two things there. First of all, security protocols are always under constant review. Okay, and as a side story, I was in Boston on last Monday, to meet with Boston PD, NYPD, local, state, and federal agencies to see how they plan the Boston Marathon from a safety perspective, so we can take those learnings back to Vancouver. And in just a terrible coincidence of events, so that's just to say we're constantly looking at how we make our events in our city a lot safer. So there's always a constant review. I understand how Vancouverites feel. Look, I'm a family person. My son actually was helping set up the Sun Run on Sunday, like literally hours after the event happened. And, as a father, I understand how families feel.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm going to say next may go over like a lead balloon with a lot of people. And I don't want to diminish the fact that people are reeling right now. And I understand it. Our events, there's about 2,200 events that happen in the city of Vancouver every year, and then 1,000 protests. They all go through a security, review, protocol, assessment with VPD, Vancouver Fire and Rescue, the team at the City of Vancouver, the organizers, and the vast majority, like 99 point whatever percent, go off without a hitch. So, yes, Vancouver's still a safe city. These events are safe, and I fully understand how people, especially after the incredibly horrific and saddening events of what happened on Saturday, why people will feel apprehensive. But as Mayor of Vancouver, representing, all the different individuals that work with us, you make us really proud. Our focus is making sure that our events are incredibly safe and people get that feeling of safety as well.
Mayor Sim, we'll leave it there this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. We appreciate you coming in.
Great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. That is Ken Sim, the Mayor of Vancouver.